Hey guys, Kyle with Dirt Bike Channel here again. Today we're going to be talking about foot pegs. So I've got a few different foot pegs here that we're going to go through. As you can see, I've got the Tusk foot pegs on this dirt bike, but we'll talk about the stock foot pegs, the Tusk, and then also a Warp 9 foot peg, and why we might want to have a different foot peg on our bike than what comes stock. So that's what's coming up next on Dirt Bike Channel. So I've got three different foot pegs here. I've got the stock peg, this is off a KTM, and then I've got a Tusk peg here, and then this is a Warp 9 peg. Now, I think these are some like a cast aluminum or something like that. I don't know what the stock pegs are made out of, but they're actually very strong and they're quite light and they're not bad. But then these are more of like an aluminum, like a billet aluminum, the Warp 9 and the Tusk pegs. And the reason why I like an aftermarket peg just a little bit better than the stock peg on dirt bikes in general is you can see that these aftermarket pegs offer a little bit wider of a footprint to stand on, and then sometimes they're going to offer a little bit more traction because they're going to have sharper spikes on these things and more of them. So it isn't that if you're running stock pegs, you need to just run out and find a new peg. I just prefer to run the other pegs, an aftermarket peg for the wider footprint, and also it's cool. They give a little bit more bling. These things look a little bit meaner. I also like the Warp 9 pegs. Anyway, so I usually, a lot of times I'll run a peg until I beat it up or even break it. So I didn't think it was possible to break foot pegs until just recently, and then I started breaking foot pegs by pounding rocks and having get-offs is what I call them. And so anyway, I've broken a few pegs recently. And as you can see, this peg has taken some pretty serious abuse. And now this is one of my spare pegs. I got a different bike and got another set. And so this is kind of like one of my spares. Having a spare peg, maybe not with you on the trail, but at least in the truck or something nearby at your camp, might not be a bad thing. So here's the Tusk foot peg. You can get these from Rocky Mountain ATV. One of the reasons why I like this one is because it's relatively cheap, considering you can spend like $200 on pegs. And it takes some pretty serious abuse. These things stand up some pretty heavy abuse. The Warp 9 pegs are pretty much the same thing, although you can adjust these. These are the little, you can actually use like an Allen wrench and put new cleats in here, or new spikes in here. Some guys will actually even sharpen these, to make them a little bit sharper on your boot. But these do clean out. The mud cleans out pretty well on these. It also cleans out pretty well on the stalkers. But you just get kind of that wider footprint and some bling on the bike. Now on the current bike that I have, since there's so much orange on it already, I just left my Warp 9 pegs off because it's got tons of orange. So I used some Tusk pegs on here. But I really like the aftermarket pegs. There's a lot of different ones that can help you lower, your feet. So there are pegs that are adjustable. I don't have any of those here, but you can kind of adjust the height up and down. There are other pegs where you can put, different cleat feet on here, so you can have, for different riding conditions or whatever. So you can spend a bunch of money. You can spend a couple of $100 on pegs. I don't really think that's necessary. The Warp 9s are the ones. This is the most I've ever spent on pegs, and I think they were about $100 for these, a set of these. The Tusk ones are a little bit cheaper. So that's kind of a little bit of word on foot pegs. So if you guys have comments or foot pegs that you love to run for one reason or another, put those down in the comments below, and we can kind of start a discussion on that. And tell me why you like to run aftermarket pegs, if you do, or tell me why you like to just run the stock pegs. There's nothing wrong with that, because the stock pegs are fine, they work fine. We can just kind of start a discussion on that, and thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it.